Namaskar and hello everyone. This is Madhur Gupta, editor Optician India. I welcome you all to the digital debate by Abhay Gupta, founder and CEO of Luxury Connect. It's a part of Optician India initiative, PowerTalk by Expert series. The knowledge partner is Luxury Connect Business School and it's powered by SMAVS Premium. I will now request my virtual voice assistant to give you the introductions of the panelists.
Hello everyone. I welcome you to the Optician India Digital Debate. Hosted by Abhay Gupta, founder and CEO of Luxury Connect. Advisor and mentor to luxury brands, professor of luxury management, certified Marshall Goldsmith coach, he is the founder and advisor of numerous organizations. He has recently authored a book, The Incredible Indian Luxury Bazaar, besides others. Our panelist Dr. Daniel Langer from the US, founder and CEO of Équité, is one of the world's most renowned experts on brand building and extreme value creation in a digitally disrupted world, with millennials and Gen Z. He has authored several top-rated luxury management books in English and Chinese and is frequently featured in leading global media publications like Forbes, Economist, Bloomberg, Skift, Robb Report, Manager Magazine and Jing Daily. Next on today's panel is Ashutosh Vaidya, who is the Managing Director of Safilo India Private Limited. A marathoner and take-charge leader, with a long track record of 20 years, who quickly set strategy and direction in order to address business challenges with courage, leveraging exceptional entrepreneurial drive and market acumen across startup and growth organizations covering India plus SAARC and APAC region. An A-lister and expert in marketing, Amit Singh, Head of Marketing at Luxottica India Private Limited. He has a very rich experience of managing iconic brands across a wide range of categories such as processed food, cosmetics and personal care, adhesives and stationery, and now eyewear. Has managed brand portfolios across markets like MENA, APAC, CIS countries, South Asia and India. While working with renowned firms like Parley Products, Henkel KGaA, Germany and India, Pidilite Industries, and now Luxottica. We have with us today Navneet Kalra, the page 3 personality of the optical industry. He manages multiple businesses like Dayal Opticals, Town Hall, Conchicha, Public Affair, Mr. Choi and Eat by Blanco. A very outgoing, clear-minded and sincere person who is very passionate about work. He never hesitates in calling a spade a spade. Known in his friend circle for his fun-loving and extrovert nature. He mingles with people effortlessly and is very fond of indulging in conversations as long as they are enriching and invigorating. We also have with us Arindam Bhattacharya on the panel today. Vertical Head Fashion and Sustainable Development at Holisol Logistics. He grew up between Zambia, UK and the United States until 7 years ago when he decided to move to India. ABS, Information Technology, and MBA, Luxury Brand Marketing. Arindam is passionate about teaching and driving sustainability in fashion and lifestyle supply chain. Finally on the panel today we have a young achiever, Rohan Paul, Head of Vision Care Commercial, Zeiss India Bangalore Private Limited. Having experience across consumer goods, apparel, and optical industry and in leading businesses for both startups and established organizations through consumer centricity and strategic partnerships. Adept at building new categories and preparing the organization for long-term success. With the introductions of the distinguished panelists now over, I request Abhay to begin with the session. Hello.
Yes, Madhur, thank you. That was a wonderful, I would say, precursor, pre-beginner to a digital debate, gentlemen. So Madhur has put together that wonderful video individually and collectively, and he's also used a digital device to create that voice. So I believe for the audience, it must be interesting to see that how digital is penetrating various factors of our life, and it has in a manner disrupted the entire business model. And that is what we are going to talk about today. So let me begin the discussions by asking my first question, particularly maybe to Amit and Ashutosh, with respect to understanding that while we have had a certain amount of prediction and projection in terms of slowdown, of overall sales in luxury, leading to about 30 to 40% drop in 2020. What has been your experience in the branded eyewear segment? Have you seen some kind of a slowdown? And pardon me, we are going to begin a poll parallelly with the audience, so the audience can also participate in this question with respect to the kind of a slowdown that they may have seen. Because I understand that most of the audience participants are from the optical trade, and they probably are dealers or retailers of optical brands. So, Madhur, if you may launch the poll while we have questions answered by the panel simultaneously.
Yeah, we'll put it on screen now, and the guests can vote.
I request all the participants to kindly keep their mics on mute and please address the poll while maybe Amit or Ashutosh, one of you wants to begin answering this question.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Madhur. Thank you, everybody, for this wonderful session. I can answer this question in two ways. One is, yes, we definitely see some reduction, which possibly ranges from 20%, 30%, going up to about 60% across various channels. From the channel point of view, if I have to speak, the reduction is extremely high in, especially across the malls. Reduction, I would say, is substantial or the reasonable across some of the selected high streets. And the reduction in a category, if I have to speak, across sunglasses, the reduction is very high. Whereas across the optical frames, and possibly Rohan can speak about the lenses, the reduction possibly would be lower. The volume reduction is, what you can say, is a minimal. The value reduction is about 20-30%. This I'm speaking more from the secondary sale point of view, so the consumption point of view. Now look at a primary sale point of view, where we end up selling to our distributors or to our retailers, and in turn the retailers sell further. Especially if I have to speak about my company in last, say June, July, August, September, we are actually growing. But please remember that it's a primary sale, it's not a secondary sale. So in a way, what is happening is that we are gaining more market share. This has an impact. We get a market share, but of course, sometimes we do have some issues in getting the payments. However, we see that as the secondary sale is improving, the payment situation from the market also is improving. It's improving substantially. So to summarize, yes, there is a reduction at the on the secondary sale. But if I put a graph of May, March, April, May, June, July, August, you see the trend is it's going up. We expect in the festival, with the festival season coming in, the situation should even improve further. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, Amit. And how has been the experience with Luxottica brands?
Yeah. So hi everyone again, and thank you for inviting me, and greetings to everyone who's listening in. Look, the impact on businesses is clear. I mean, it's not just our business; any business is impacted. I mean, it's a pandemic after all, and the economic activity and mobility of people have been severely curtailed. So every business is impacted, and so are we. Having said that, I do not take a holistic countrywide view of how the business is doing and look at just one number. I look at it more from the point of view of markets which have remained sustainably open in recent times, or even a store level if it is possible for me to have access to data. And we do have access to some tertiary sales data through some formats and some of our trade partners. And what I take heart from clearly is that the business is actually improving significantly week after week. I mean, this week is better than the last, and last week was better than the previous one. And that's what gives me heart. And the best thing that is happening really is that the conversion rates of whatever walk-ins are there, albeit walk-ins are reduced, but the conversion rates are in many cases double or more of what they used to be in pre-COVID times. And surprisingly, to many possibly surprisingly, and I expected this. The average ticket size has actually gone up substantially. So, I mean, given that there is a bit of a luxury bent to this discussion, I would say that the luxury market is doing pretty good and showing stronger signs of recovery. And what Ashutosh said in terms of optical doing better than sunglasses, I tend to agree. But you know, as lockdown keeps on getting relaxed and as economic activity picks up, I think everything will pick up, including sunglasses. Because frankly speaking, people are not going to reinvent their personalities, and they will get back to consuming what they were consuming at pre-COVID levels. I think each one of us want to do that. I, for example, want to have chola bhatura in Bikaner wala. So I will do that whenever lockdown opens up. So then I am actually quite confident that come more opening up of the economy and movement, and with the festive and marriage season ensuing now progressively, we'll see good action in the category.
So do you think that is because perhaps most of the brands have come up with safety eyewear during the pandemic, and I particularly see Ashutosh doing a lot of activities and a lot of promotion around. I think they've also made the shield and protective gear with respect to eyes, because that's also a weak area when it comes to the impact of the virus. So do you think the sales is temporarily picked up because of that, or do you think it's a trend of revenge buying, that this being a low-hanging fruit, people are simply latching on to whatever they can buy?
Yeah, so let me break this down into two aspects. I mean, in terms of the shields, and of course, many manufacturers are doing a stupendous job at it. We are one of those doing good with that. That clearly is a new category that is forming. We have to wait and watch how sustained this category will be in future. But as responsible brands and manufacturers, I think many of the organizations have responded to this need that is arisen.
Right.
I think it's not the lion's share of what is happening. Lion's share of what is happening really is real consumption. You know, eyewear is a necessity. It enables people to get on with their lives as they are used to.
Right.
That is what they're doing. They're coming out and consuming. Revenge buying, I mean, it's a fashionable term, but I think it is just that people want to get back to life as it used to be. Whether there is pent-up demand that will create a temporary surge, there surely is. I mean, many people are waiting to just reach their salon. You know, not me, of course, but there are many. So there will be a bit of a surge, but I don't think that will sustain. What will sustain is the real fundamentals of demand of this category, which remain.
Right. And what has been Navneet's perspective?
Relevant to get on with life in general.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, Amit. So Navneet, what has been your perspective from a dealer point of view? I mean, are you seeing any kind of let's say increased footfalls since the unlock has started?
Hi everybody. Don't think so. The footfall is increasing, but the conversion rate, what Amit is saying, is correct. So whatever number of customers we are getting, we are able to sell each and every one.
Right.
So there are serious shoppers which are coming to the stores.
Right.
And they are shopping. And I think the high net worth individuals, because they used to travel so much and spend money abroad, they are spending money in our country now.
Right.
So the effect to the high net worth customers is not there.
Right.
And I think it's positive because Chanel has done amazingly well sales at Chanakya Mall.
Right.
And all the luxury guys are shopping here.
Right.
And everybody is getting good sales in the number wise.
I mean, Chanel is a brand which has done, I mean, all the categories. So, you know, we happen to speak to people there. So I believe Chanel as a brand has done extremely well across categories. So perhaps their product or maybe the boutique is new. So there's a certain amount of euphoria around that brand. But it's good to hear that generally speaking, if a retailer like Navneet says that conversions are very high, it's a very, very encouraging sign. Rohan, you were trying to say something. You want to contribute? Yes, please go ahead.
Maybe I just wanted to give a quick perspective on the optical lenses as a segment.
Yes.
So we have obviously seen that there has been a reduction in the footfall that's driving lower sales versus what it used to be pre-COVID. But I think as Amit was mentioning and Ashutosh was mentioning, I think the signs are encouraging. So we see footfalls coming back and we see the business improving month on month. Maybe one point that I wanted to bring to the conversation was if you look at the overall lockdown and the post-COVID situation, I think the consumer lifestyle has changed, right? And if you look at businesses now that are more relevant to the current lifestyle, so for example, if you look at online learning, or let's say if you look at online medical consultation, those are the types of businesses that are doing well. And I would maybe just trying to draw a parallel between the optical lenses as a segment and the businesses that I spoke about, right? With the consumer lifestyle changing, there is obviously a difference in the vision needs of the consumers now, right? Versus what it used to be previously. People are spending a lot of time at home in front of their digital screens, right? I think it's one of the things that we are trying to do really is to partner with people to make sure that we can improve the communication on the products, make sure that we improve the communication on the dispensing and the communication that you have with your customers, identifying their right vision needs and figuring out the right solution. For example, we spoke about, you've seen a lot of communication around digital eye strain, right? So when it comes to measuring the eye strain, that's one critical piece of the entire consulting process now, more than ever, more than before, because people are now more on screens. Or when it comes to a more connected lifestyle, now people are spending more time on the phone, right? So therefore, the understanding of the lifestyle changes, the dispensing processes, etc. I think those also have to evolve for us to be able to be more relevant in changing times and therefore be able to get a bigger business out in these times.
Right. Arindam, I want to take your opinion that since you're moving goods all across the world, I mean, logistics has suffered drastically because of non-movement. And here we have prominent brand heads and retailers mentioning that the sales are seemingly pick up. So would you support that with logistical movements as well? I mean, are you seeing a lot of increased inland logistics movement to the retailers?
So in our case, what we've noticed is throughout, the different verticals we handle in fashion, lifestyle, and any other category, even eyewear, our majority of the movement right now happening is for B2C or online sales. For store sales, we're still seeing stock movement, but not to that level as it was before. And it's picking up slowly, but we're not there yet. But B2C in certain cases has tripled, quadrupled in terms of daily volume movements.
But is eyewear as a category, does it really sell as much as one would want? I mean, let's not go to the lens card way, but if we go to the luxury space, do you think a luxury consumer is buying branded eyewear, a Chanel eyewear or Versace eyewear online? Is that happening?
It is happening, actually.
Really?
The higher value eyewear are more of sunglasses. We've seen higher movement of the higher value pieces going out in terms of B2C.
No, but considering that fit is a challenge, I mean, we still don't have technology where a fit can be done virtually as yet, at least in India. So despite that, do you think people would be buying these kind of high value products?
So I'll give you an example. In one case with one of our clients, even though they have, dealerships all across the country, they're actually selling the products. B2C movement is going on and they're referring the closest dealership in case of any kind of adjustments that's required.
Right. Oh, okay. Daniel, would you want to comment? I mean, do you think technology that has now started disrupting the entire value chain and whatever be the sector? So what, in your opinion, is a solution for the eyewear industry, and what kind of technologies do you think are being experimented with?
I think that you basically need to look at digital in a completely different way now than probably even a year or 2 years ago. And I think it starts with several aspects. So let's start with the customer and with the consumer. So obviously we have very different shopping behaviors, as already has been pointed out by the other panelists. So people are going less into the stores. And when they go into the stores, and we see this all over the world in our projects, when they go to the stores, then they usually are, in a sense, on a mission. And I think this is why you see conversion rates going up, because basically if someone makes a decision to go into a physical place and potentially get exposed to the coronavirus, then in principle you want to go in and out. You're not going to go to the store anymore just for browsing. At least this is kind of a tendency that we see. So what we can learn with this is that some customers are willing to do that. Other customers may not be willing to do that. So we have to basically think about digital now as an enabler and to bring a brand closer to the customer and allowing them to access the brand in each consumption situation. But I would say digital needs to go much further, because what we know, and this doesn't really matter which category it is, and even for products at price points, you know, when you think about hypercars, so you have price points $1 million plus, even in that category, the purchase journey is completely determined digitally. And what this means is the decision to buy a brand is taken before the customer goes into the store. In eyewear, this may be still a little bit different in a way that, you know, you go into the store and then you maybe make a fitting and you see that maybe the brand that you chose or the particular model that you chose doesn't fit you so well, and then you may make a change. But overall, we see that choice of the brand is determined even before a customer goes into the physical channel. And this means that brands now need to think completely differently in a way that you have to win the battle on the digital space before you even make the sale. And if the brand is not able to convince digitally before the customer even thinks of buying, then you basically lose the opportunity even to sell. And I think this is a real paradigm shift, because before, I would say, and still maybe most managers I speak to, still think about digital as, if you think about, I don't know, let's say the social media or so, they think about digital as maybe an advertising space. I see digital as the space where the sale is determined. You either win there or you lose. And then the second is basically that as I pointed out before, it's now the access point to the brand. If someone decides not to go into a physical store, then you simply have to be there digitally. And then you have to use all technologies possible to make the life easy. Oh, Abhay, I think you're still muted.
Would you want to, Amit or Ashutosh perhaps, or even Rohan, would you want to comment on the kind of technological intervention that is being brought in by your brands or your company as a whole in terms of the entire business value chain, and what points, and especially with respect to retail, would be interested? I'm sure all of us are interested to know as to what kind of intervention, what are the costs involved, how are you going to support the dealers, how are you planning to train the people, etc., etc. So it'll be interesting to get, we have 3 brand people here. It'll be very interesting to get their views. And then we can ask Navneet to share with us as to what would the dealers expect from you. Okay, Amit, you want to begin? You have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. So what Daniel said, of course, stands scrutiny and is 100% agreeable thing. But I'd like to kind of draw a wider canvas for what digital really is.
Right.
And given that a lot of our trade partners are also possibly, hopefully listening in, many a times digital is only looked at from the perspective of interface with the consumer, like the retailer interfacing with the consumer. But there is a whole lot of digital which can add to profitability and operational efficiency in terms of operations of a trade partner. You know, and quite honestly, in terms of what my organization has been doing, like I was mentioning to you, Abhay, possibly when we spoke, was that, you know, digital disruption happened maybe a decade ago.
Right.
Now what is happening is digital evolution. Some of the members of the value chain possibly have understood this more poignantly now when the revenue is drying up and the working capital is strained, and they're scrambling to adapt or adopt. Quite honestly, if you look at the operational side of it, we have several interventions, like we have a business-to-business selling platform where all our trade partners can buy each and every product they need from us on our digital platform at their leisure, having considered it as many times as they want to, having looked at it from as many dimensions as they want to. There is new possibilities that are coming up in terms of what the retail partner is able to portray as their inventory. I mean, some of our trade partners we're already talking with, and there is something we call the smart shopper, where a trade partner like Navneet, who already has a colossal assortment in his stores, can potentially portray thousands of pieces more. I mean, he might have 5,000 in his store, but he can portray 40,000 through a digital interface between our entire assortment from within his store. And he collects the revenue at the store, and the piece is shipped to his store.
Right.
That kind of intervention. There is training. I mean, there is a huge amount of value to be derived from trained staff. And you know, our entire training library is digitally available to all our trade partners at their leisure. And talk of you know, how trade partners have adapted this or have played ball with us. It used to be a little slow pre-COVID, but during COVID times, I think everybody has woken up to possibilities of digital enablement, as Daniel put it. You know, earlier digital used to be the demon. Now the digital is understood for what it really is. It's an enabler.
Right.
I mean, so there is a whole amount of training that will help people convert more. There are things like virtual try-ons that are available. So a whole lot of digital intervention that can be done to make sure that. Another fantastic thing is something that we call STARS. It is a stock turn automatic replenishment, superior turn automatic replenishment program, where it ensures that the trade point has got the right assortment, the right stuff, so that they don't leak profit because they didn't have the right assortment in the place. So there's a lot that can be achieved. I mean, there is this mad rush sometimes I see with some people who are just wanting to launch a website. You know, and I think that can be a fallacy of thought. I mean, people should bite what they can chew over a longish period of time, because sometimes having websites that are unkempt actually detracts from the equity that the trade partners has earned over decades. So
it's more disastrous, true.
Yeah, so I would encourage a lot of our trade partners to look at what digital enablement they can bring to ensure better efficiency from processes also.
Right. Ashutosh, you want to add inputs from your brands in terms of what are the kind of interventions and the likely acceptance from your dealers?
Well, in my opinion, you know, if we can divide this question into two
I think
parts.
you just need to hold your mic a little closer.
Yeah, if we can divide this question into two parts, I think a lot has happened from various companies to in the form of reaching to an optician. The way we used to reach optician had changed. A lot of technology has got into it in the form of a training, B2B buying, whole lot of thing has happened. What has happened for an optician so that he can reach to his customer?
Right.
My opinion is 0 to nil. You know, one can always debate, but I don't think anything. Actually, I'm seeing anything has happened so that optician can reach to the consumer. We have done a couple of initiatives, and one of such initiative actually has worked in last say 45 days. Is one of our trade partner has launched a website, and this website is promoted by the company, supported by the company, and every optician gets a code, and he can promote his customer to buy on that website.
Okay.
So what happens is, so for example, there is an optician called say City Optical, and he has a code. He promotes that code, and his customer buy on the website. And based on how many codes, how many redemptions have happened of across his code, an optician makes money. And so far we have been able to, you know, it's not a great number, but we have been able to rope in about 41, 42 optician to do at least one piece up to 20 pieces kind of a sale. So is one, max is 20 in last about 45 days. So without having an inventory at an optician, without having a website at an optician, without optician spending any single paisa in doing marketing, we have been able to successfully rope in some optician to do sell digital. So I think this is how you know, we have been helping. I think I personally feel lot needs to happen to help opticians sell out. And whatever we do, physical, digital, you know, if it is not around the sale out, my opinion, optician will not, you know, eventually go for it. You know, that's how, you know, kind of, I will summarize it.
Right. And Rohan, I believe a lot of tech has come into the testing space in the optical testing arena, and perhaps your company or your brand has taken a lot of lead there. Do you want to share with us as to what exactly you're bringing in?
Thank you. Thanks, Abhay. So maybe I'll just start off from where Daniel left, right? So the consumer journey now goes across online and offline when it comes to making a purchase, right? And I think it is important that the brand and the retailer is in the right from the discovery phase. I think the brand and the retailer should be under consideration with that when that needs to happen. So I think maybe just to give you an example, there is a premium automobile maker, automobile manufacturer that basically allows you to design your own car when you're sitting at home.
Yes,
right?
yes,
This
absolutely.
is a great example of keeping the customer engaged and being there in the entire discovery process. When somebody is searching for a car and going through the entire process, you keep the customer engaged in the entire journey. So we have tools that can keep the consumers engaged. Obviously, our communication happens mostly B2B2C, which means that we provide tools to the opticians so that they can share. So we have a tool called the My Vision Profile that basically keeps the customer or the consumer engaged and asks them questions about their lifestyles and suggests what is the right product that they should buy. So I'm just drawing again a parallel between the two. So that's from a B2B2C space. Now, if you look at what's happening now from a post-COVID perspective, I think there's a lot of there has been a footfall reduction, and there also is the consumers are right now scared to step out, right? And therefore they need to get into a store which they think is safe in terms of the practice, right? So other than the basic hygiene that we need to maintain at stores, there are a few technologies that we've had in the past as well, but now which have become more relevant. So we have a technology called the contactless consultation. So this, what it does is basically this allows the optometrist to examine the patient at a distance by keeping a safe distance, right? So this is a good example of a technology solution which is more relevant now in the current day and age. Then we have, we actually launched a centration device recently called the VisuFit 1000. That centration device also, so what that centration device does is that it captures 45 million points from your face.
Okay.
And it allows for accurate centration. Along with that, it is a VTO in a virtual in a very different format. So what it does is it creates an avatar of your face. So your face is, in a sense, is digitalized. It creates a digitalization of the frames that are loaded on the platform. So what this does is, it offers a much more precise platform for a VTO. So that's the second thing that we've been doing. Then also we've looking at how things are panning out for the future again, and looking at trends that are emerging globally. Teleoptometry is going to be a big one, right? So there is obviously one is a voice or a video consulting that you do with an ophthal or with a doctor. The other is we have a platform called the Visu 360. What that platform does is that the platform allows for remote consulting to happen with an ophthalmologist who might be based outside from sitting at the ECP point. What that allows to be done is that allows for proper appointment scheduling. That allows for the ophthal to actually control the devices that are stationed at the ECP point. So it's a complete consulting process that these devices can actually enable. Other than that, obviously from a dispensing tool perspective, I spoke about the fact that right now, since the lifestyles are changing, I think it's, dispensing and communication become very important. So we are looking at all our dispensing tools. We are looking at all our demo tools. A lot of those demo tools are now digitally powered. We have a demo tool that can allow you to actually measure digital eye strain. So that's one of the tools that we have. So there are, of course, a lot more. Maybe I've just summarized a few. There is also, so on the B2B2C front, which we spoke about, we are also kind of piloting a platform which will allow ECPs to come online, and this will be like a online marketplace kind of a platform. So these are some of the examples that we've been doing in this space. I think from a partner standpoint, I think I believe that all partners realize that there is a need for a digital transformation, and I think this has existed even in the past. But I think post-COVID, obviously, this has now accelerated even more. And there are partners who want to now, kind of take the digital transformation journey. But I think we as brands are, we realize that there is a need to really partner and kind of understand where their business is and what their aspirations are and what their ambitions are. And therefore really provide an end-to-end solution that works for their business and really is help, and we can make a digital transformation for their business. So we have recently done a program called a Zeiss Vision Expert, which talks about, how do you really understand the business and how do you really partner with the customer to be able to really take the business forward. So these are a few things that we've been doing.
You know, but I would like to now address Navneet that in the past, several apps, not in the eyewear industry, but you know, Lenskart did something which was very basic, that you take your picture and the selfie, and then you can try drag on any of the frame. But we have had advanced apps like a Mirar or a Modi Face in the beauty industry or in the jewelry industry. The acceptance of the same amongst the Indian consumers has been extremely low. So from a dealer perspective, which is facing the customer, and I believe that while disruption has happened along the entire business value chain, the front end is extremely important. And if the front end customer gets comfortable with the retail tech, then I think sales are really going to boom. So what is your opinion, Navneet? Do you think average consumer who's coming to a eyewear store is open to adapt to technology? And if yes, the kind of investments which are required to bring in retail tech in the front end, should the brand be supporting you? Will the dealer be willing to invest in that? What are the kind of a commercial partnership would you recommend to three prominent brands sitting on the panel?
See, first of all, I would like to tell you the consumer is already accepting the change.
Okay.
And they are welcoming it. And as my partners like Luxottica, Safilo, and Zeiss, they have suggested.
G.
The store has a limitation of how much we can stock. So as soon as they give us a support of displaying my stock, my current stock, my old stock, as well as what Luxottica and Safilo have. So we reach out to consumer in a much better variety in a digital way, which our stores can never do that.
Right.
So if you see Nike also, they have started doing customizing of shoes. So the future would be that you can customize your own sunglasses also.
Yes.
You want a temple, and the temple can be customized according to your color. So
right.
Digital is not only helping us only to do sales, but it is helping us to customize the color trend also what the consumer is looking at.
Right, right.
And
right.
if you talk about B2B, in fact, I'll give you an example. 10 years back, I used to go for buying days with Luxottica. And they came to me that now we have gone digital. Now you'll see samples in rooms where you'll see one brand in one room. And I thought how this will happen. And I used to take 2 days of ordering in any buying day.
Right.
And as soon as they introduced all these digital things, my time was reduced to half a day.
Right.
So digital is helping in a big way. It's just that how we should adopt to this change. If we adopt it faster, it will help us faster.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe just let me jump in, because I would like to go even a little bit further and make maybe a little bit like a warning call or so. And I know the panel doesn't need it, but maybe also for the audience, I would go further and say you have to strive for digital leadership, because to the points that were made before, to the 2 or 3 panelists before, when you were describing the digital transformation, and I think it's super exciting to see that in a very maybe more traditional segment as the optical segment, where we're very much relying still are very much relying on stores and on the physical contact. It's very exciting to see that there is this transformation happening. The thing that I want to caution is we have to be extremely fast in this, and not basically just be a fast follower on these technologies, but try to become a leader in the technologies. Because in the end of the day, to survive means you have to generate, as a brand or as a retailer, you have to generate competitive advantage. And if I look right now across the different industries of brands that are striving and that actually are growing in the pandemic, or are doing, let's say, relatively well, much better than the others, these are all brands that have been leading in the digital space. Those brands that have been more talking about digital transformation and have been not at the forefront, but rather, I don't want to say even doing a wait and see approach, but maybe just experimenting a little bit, understanding that there is a change, but not taking it as serious. They are not there anymore, or they are in very deep trouble across the industries. So I would just urge everyone to not think about digital transformation, but to think about digital leadership and competitive advantage through digital. And in fact, I was recently in a conference with investors into luxury brands, and I gave them a quite, I would say, blunt message. And I told the investors, if you come across a CEO of a company that talks in 2020 about digital transformation, stop speaking with them, fire them.
Right.
And you have to be very, very blunt in this, because we are in a world where digital means surviving or striving or being irrelevant.
Right.
And and there is no time. The change is so dramatic. And we can see, for example, companies that are very advanced and that are using, for example, artificial intelligence today to understand, for example, how consumer sentiment is shifting by the day. Those companies can be extremely agile. Those companies are able to know in real time what is going on in the marketplace. And I'm so even sometimes flabbergasted when I speak with companies, when managers tell me, we are doing digital, blah blah blah, and then I just look into what they're really doing, and in principle they have no idea what is going on. And maybe the question that it's a key question for everyone, also in the audience, is to ask yourself: are you able right now at this moment to say what your customers are telling about your brand right now? What is the consumer sentiment? How did the consumer sentiment shift in the last week about your brand and about competition? How many conversations do you have around your brand versus your competitors? And if you cannot answer this question right now, you should be concerned, because a lot of your competitors may be able to do that.
Right. I agree with you, Daniel. I mean, social listening is becoming important, and digital marketing is becoming important in countries like China, where I think digital avatars are being used. Mime has come into marketing because the Gen Z is now living at the intersection of gaming, social media, and shopping. So unless in India also we proceed at that fast pace, the impact on our younger Gen Z, I would say the relatively younger Gen Z, is super high. And we are finding that shift happening even in India. So I believe that in any industry sector, unless the retailer and the brand are equally partnering in the digital evolution, and I like what Amit said, that it's now moving from disruption to evolution, and unless we are able to partner in the evolution process, we may be left behind, and we may simply perish. But my question is really that is the customer accepting it? So as leaders we understand that, but as a customer accepting it, are the dealers willing to invest in technology? Are the brands willing to partner with them in investing? So I mean, typically the mindset in India is that brand karega, brand has to do it, and it's not our goal. So I would want this question to be answered by anyone in the panel. I mean, they're all brand people, and Navneet is one of, let's say, a veteran retailer here. So yes, Amit, you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
I think I'll first let my good friend Navneet speak, I think, and then I'll.
So thank you, Amit. I think digital is not only a website.
Yeah, absolutely.
People think that digital is website. Lot of traffic is being generated by social media, which is again digital. I get a lot of business from Instagram. As soon as my wife is very well known in our society. So as soon as she wears the sunglasses, I get at least 10 orders from there.
Right.
So digital is a mixture of everything. So I send a lot of catalogs on WhatsApp to my customers, and they choose it from there. So it's how you utilize your digital, and customers are accepting it.
Right.
Customers are trying it. After a digital help, after we reach out to the customer with some 10 or 20 different models, they want to try on the frame, then we send the trade to their houses, and then they select the. So we have done a lot of sales in last 3 months through digital.
Right.
And I would give one more example to my retail friends, that 10 years back, we used to get catalogs from everybody. So all those catalogs are obsolete now. Nobody has got the space. We can utilize that space into, again, of our stock. You don't need to have a catalog now. Nobody needs to print a catalog. It's all converted into digital catalogs. So that is again digital. Digital does not mean only a website. It is a lot of different forms where we can get help in digital.
No, I agree with you. But your brand supporting you with the investment is what my question was. I mean, what you're talking of is more social media marketing, but in terms of tangible investments, tangible retail type investments.
I think whatever I am today is all thanks to my brands.
Oh wow,
We learn everything from brands.
That's a very, very nice thing to hear. So Madhur, maybe you want to start the second poll in terms of the investment sharing plan between the brands and the retailers. So everyone in the audience, please welcome and share your opinion. At the end of it, we will release the results for everyone to see for both the polls together. Yes, Amit, over to you.
Perspective on this, Abhay, is that two things really you touched upon. One is the acceptance of our trade partners, and the other was investment. Let me go with the acceptance part first. I think the acceptance is there and has in fact accelerated many times during this period. But there are some trade partners who are always receptive of this, and leading trade partners like Navneet and a few others, they set example for other trade partners to follow. So there has been a partnership, and a very successful one. And when these leading opticians step up and become more digitally savvy, others follow. And it is our job to make sure that our tools are available to anyone who wants to get on with it. And we ensure that that is the case. In terms of investments, Abhay, really, technology is progressing in a manner that it does not make it necessary for people to invest through their noses. If technology requires excessive investment, that technology will not take off. What does it really take? The things that Navneet spoke of, for example, or the smart shopper concept of endless aisle that I spoke of, it just takes a tablet. Everybody has it. If somebody doesn't, then I am sure we can work out methods of making sure they get one. It is really about wanting to get on with it, and technology is not expensive. Most of what is required, everybody has. Mindset is changing rapidly, so I think the future for digital and optical industry is also increasingly brighter than.
So you're very bullish.
I'll just take a minute to share one more thing with you. Around 1 year back, I was in Italy, and I thought when I went to the Apple store, they give you invoices digitally. Nobody gives you a hard copy. So last 1 year back, I implemented in my optical store, retail store. I give all my bills to my clients digitally.
Wonderful.
So we don't give a hard copy. So I think digital saves money.
True.
Because all the hard copies what we give cost us. And the customer always loses it. So it saves money and it is more easy.
Right. Understood. Ashutosh, you want to add something to this?
Yeah, let me maybe also add just one thought. And also I will try to be also a little bit provoking again, because your question was, are the customers accepting digital? And I think it's actually the wrong question, because we are in luxury, and basically for a luxury brand, the research shows very clearly that if you as a brand are not a forerunner, if you are not an influencer, you're not seen as value creating by consumers. So I think the question is not, are customers accepting it, which already the other panelists answered that they are, but the question is, how can we create something that is relevant for them? How can we create a relevant solution? Because as always, digital without being relevant means nothing. Just to put a tool out that doesn't have any value for the customers or any value in the supply chain operation or so means absolutely nothing. The question has to be much different. It has to be from a brand perspective. I understand now that the customers have different access points to the brands, some digitally, some physically. More and more, maybe in this pandemic and probably also after the pandemic, people will go digitally. So I have to think now as a brand, what do I do? How do I create value for them? How do I give them a relevant solution? And I better innovate, because if brands are seen as just following, then they are not going to make any value creation. So we have we should not think about will customers accept it, but we should think how can we create value to them through digital, and again, as I said earlier, gain competitive advantage through that.
Right. I agree with you, Daniel, but there have been instances where I took examples that Mirar is a jewelry app made in India, and it faced a lot of challenges until the pandemic hit in. So now they are on a spree where every jeweler is after it, and every customer is willing to use that in terms of augmented reality. And it was similar for Modi Face in terms of the beauty, but the pandemic has actually accelerated the process of acceptance. as that is what I wanted to understand from the retailers, that when we are going towards advanced technology, will there be acceptance from the common Indian consumer, is what my question was related to. I agree with you that it has to be a luxury brand which has to set the innovation standard before anybody else can really adopt to it. So there I completely agree with you. Ashutosh, would you want to share as to what, sorry, yes, Daniel.
Maybe just to give another thought, I would go again a bit further, because I think it's not just, if we say it's a luxury brand that should bring it, it's one thing. The other thing is, can you stay relevant as a luxury brand if you are not perceived as leading? And here I would basically caution some examples of the car industry, because, for example, the players in the premium space in cars that were leading, so for example, take the German car manufacturers, BMW, Mercedes, Audi, they are losing dramatic market share over the last 2 or 3 years. Why did they lose market share? Because they have been extremely slow in adaptation of electrification and digital. And the players that are advanced in digital, like Tesla, are leading. And for example, now in US, in all segments in which Tesla has become market leader in the premium space, independent of whether this is for large cars, whether this is for SUVs, or whether this is for compact cars. And this is basically already a signal that if you are not at the forefront in digitalization and digital solutions, you will be nowhere.
Right. Yes, Ashutosh, do you want to share something in terms of the digitization efforts by Safilo brands?
Well, I by and large, kind of tend to agree with most of the panelists, what they have said. If you want to stay relevant, and if you want to lead, and the people, the dealers like Navneet, who are leading the show, are possibly showing the ways to other, that this is how you can stay relevant. The other day, I visited a store called Decathlon in Bangalore, and they have got rid of cash counters. So you enter a store with an app, and you have to download an app, and you check out yourself with an app. Sometimes this process could be slightly cumbersome because we are not used to it. But as we adopted to, say, payment wallets, I'm sure even the consumer will also adopt. Technology will become more and more consumer friendly.
Right.
Yes, tomorrow, imagine when the corona is not there, and when the situation will turn back to normal instead of a new normal. Both would go together, so say, for example, a usage of a currency, usage of a wallet, usage of a card. The other day I was reading that the disbursement of a debit cards, I think during the lockdown period, some 2 million debit cards were, kind of disbursed. Right. So everything will coexist, and technology will help all of us, to stay more relevant.
Right. But when we are introducing or injecting technology in various, let's say, points, various milestones of the business process, training and familiarization becomes a very, very important tool. So not all the dealers would be as progressive as Navneet is. So how are the brands planning to bring in training to ensure that the acceptance first from the dealers and then from the customers is extremely high, right? So technology is disrupting everything. I mean, we have supply chain, which is disrupted. We have research, which is disrupted, which we have marketing. We have everything. Everything in the business model is now completely disrupted. In fact, Daniel and I are actually creating a program in terms of digital disruption of luxury, where we want to train not only students, but also executives and brands, etc., in terms of how they should accept and how they have to sort of be familiar with the kind of new technology that are coming into managing a luxury brand. So what are really the plans in terms of supporting the training requirement of the dealers in terms of new inputs that you want to provide to them? Amit, you want to start first?
Yeah, sure. So there are two things to this, Abhay. One is the sheer fact that I think most organizations who want to lead, as Daniel put it, enable themselves to do that. And we have a training team which is known far and wide in the trade today. And it's a way we use extensive use of technology itself to train. And just to put some numbers, I mean, in last in the first month or so of this pandemic, and when the businesses were really shut down, we used the digital technology or virtual sessions like this one to train more than 4,000 opticians with about 20,000 training impressions. These are hundreds and hundreds of hours of training that was done digitally. So we are very mindful that a technological tool is useful only when its entirety is understood by whoever is using it. And we have always taken this very seriously, and we use digital tools. We use mock sessions, we use physical presence of our trainers and our sales staff, our marketing staff, my managing director, my commercial director, everybody gets out there and gets on with it. Because it's a win-win equation for everybody, for the consumer, for the trade partner, and for the brand. So make sure all our digital might and our physical might is put behind this.
Right. Ashutosh and Rohan, your inputs?
Well, Abhay, how I would, in a way look at is, of course, I second with Amit from the training efforts which different companies are taking in teaching the optician, which is definitely there. Look at from a consumer point of view, the role, take a house as an example. The chief purchase officer of a house, which earlier used to be possibly a father or maybe to some extent sometime a mother or both, I think has completely, and the chief information officer was possibly either the father or a mother. I think now the CPO and the CIO had changed completely. In my house, at least I see, and I'm sure it's possibly in all the houses, the chief information officer is your youngest kid, and possibly the chief influencer is your youngest kid. And the chief purchase officer also is one of your kid, So your role, so what is happening is that optician is still into a what you can say 70s born, or maybe 75 or 80 born. Some of them are even pre-70 born. See, they are completely out of digital age. But look at their consumers. So now you're in these two paradoxes. At one side, the person whom you are dealing with, and the one side your buyer is. Now, faster you bridge that gap, and the optician, like Navneet, RK, they're trying to bridge this gap faster and with the help of technology, with the help of brand, with the help of their own education. Those who are able to, do it, I think they would lead the way. Just for an example, the other day I was seeing the score of about 50 opticians website, and I was honestly surprised to see that some of the names which I thought would never be there, in the Google score, they were like in top 10. So it means there is a work which is happening from an optician side also. Of course, sometimes the necessity drives the change. I think here also necessity is helping to drive the change.
Right. But I guess as leading brands, you have to sort of build the momentum, and you have to build the inertia amongst, let's say, the smaller retailers, perhaps.
I agree. I think the brand from brand's point of view will definitely try and break the inertia. The second is the leading influencing optic. Every area you have influencer.
Micro-influencers.
Navneet is one of a very strong influencer.
Right.
And that influence itself, helps to build. And the second is the consumer. Consumer walks in once, twice, thrice.
He
Optician
demands.
also feels that, boss, ki ye karna hai. And, they end up possibly doing it. And let's take it for a fact that some who will not do it will be out of the race.
They'll fall by the wayside.
They'll fall by the way.
Quick 2 seconds. Quick 2 seconds on this, Abhay. And see, something that Daniel also mentioned, most responsible organizations develop technologies in consultation with the trade partners who will be using it. And we certainly do that. And we do that over several years before we put it in practice.
Right.
And the other thing is, if a technology tool is too complex to handle, it will perish its own and very quickly. Most technology tools are very intuitive to handle. All it requires is a mindset to get on with it.
True. That's where the training is required. Actually, technology is meant to make life easier. It's just mentally we are not open to accept that. The minute you start accepting it, it makes your life much more simpler. As Navneet gave a wonderful example that even the billing is being done contactless. So he did not wait for the pandemic. He was proactive and he already started that in advance. So I think that is a very good example there to say. Rohan, you want to add something? Yes, Rohan, over to you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes,
So I just want to take this into two parts. So it's about training and awareness, training and acceptance, right? So like the other panelists are mentioning, I think the acceptance comes from the fact that there is a technology that they see use of in their business and they think that there is a merit in deploying it. And I think the acceptance bit comes earlier and then the training bit happens later. So in terms of acceptance, like I said, it's basically a conversation with all our partners to understand where are they looking at their business and what is priority and what do they think will take them forward. And it's a discussion to say that, you know, these are the technologies that we have, and then basis that we take it forward. In terms of training, then it's about training. Obviously, then we also deploy a lot of digital tools to help ensure that the training piece reaches to them faster, and it's a mix of the physical and the digital training that we offer.
Right.
I just wanted to add one thing quickly.
Yes, sir.
In terms of digitization and training. So even from the supply chain point of view, from our point of view, we are a tech-enabled supply chain company where anything we do, any customer we have is at least on one or the other tech platform of ours, whether it's a simple tech platform to AI enabled. But what we make sure is, when we do the training, we train our employees train our customers. And hence it keeps going forward. But we also have an entire team of trainers whom we've set up where they also train the customers. But the bottom line is, for us, what we've noticed is more than acceptance, it's customers right now are realizing that unless they go digital, unless they have a digital platform, from visibility to fulfilling, what is required at the store level is not going to happen, regardless of what you commit to the customer.
Right. Let me now swing the question into a different direction and ask Daniel in terms of what does he think in terms of the future store of the eyewear? Does he think that the model of the ZIS scheme or zero inventory scheme would actually be applicable to eyewear, or the store is only going to become a fulfillment center if more and more digital sales start taking place? And as Navneet said, that he's able to offer a whole lot of inventory and the customer is then able to come and pick up the frame from, it's a curbside pickup or a BOPIS model. So do you think those kind of things are likely to happen even in the eyewear business? And so what is really the store going to look like in the future?
So I think that, if you go back just 5 years ago or 10 years ago, why did we go to the store? I think sometimes we just have to ask these kind of simple questions. Why do we go to a store? And the answer is very simple, because of lack of alternative. 5 years, 10 years ago, there was no other way to buy a frame if you didn't go to the store. There was just no other alternative. So we went to the store. Today we have an alternative. We can easily buy digitally. Yes, we cannot maybe do the adjustments so well, but this all, as was pointed out, technologies will come or are already there that are helping you with this. In a couple of years, it will be a no-brainer. You can basically do the adjustments completely digitally. So the only reason why, for example, I should come to the store is that I get a superior experience. It's the only reason. Otherwise, I would not go to a store. And because if now I have an alternative and a much more convenient alternative, and this is basically my phone everywhere in the world or anywhere in the world, then the only reason to go to the store is I get a superior experience. And I would say this is something that everyone who's running a retail operation should really reflect on. Are we really giving an experience that is worth the time of the customer?
Right.
And I would say the default answer very often is yes, because we are just used to it. But I would say the last time that I really got a very good experience in any store, I don't even remember when it was. Usually I don't have good in-store experiences. And maybe I'm very critical because I'm just always observing. This is kind of my job to look at the customer journey. But I'm always dissatisfied with what I get as an experience in the store,
right,
independent of the brand. And I think that actually the store is the point where the customer experience usually breaks down.
Right.
And this is actually where I'm always very excited, because I always like to say in digital, at least you can control the experience. In the physical experience, you're completely dependent on your salespeople. Therefore, everything that has been said before, training and so on, is all important, but it's not sufficient. And I think that companies spend far too less time and efforts and resources on really thinking, how can I make a store experience, not just a store experience where I go in and I get, let's say, a new frame, but how can I make a store experience a branded store experience? So if I go to, let's say, retailer A, I get a branded experience that I can only get from retailer A. And I want to get this experience every time I go in there. And frankly, I would say that in 99% of my store experiences, I just get what I call a category experience. I get basically an average experience that doesn't really differ between A, B, and C, and is completely dependent on the salesperson. And this means, in other words, it's a completely random experience. And this is something that I think is terrible. It's the reason why we see so many retail spaces disappearing and retailers disappearing. It's just because they're not able to give an experience that is basically the basic thing they should do. And so my pledge would be, rethink your in-store experiences. Really make sure and be brutally honest. If you're really developing, and I hate the word world-class experience, don't even think about that. Think about, are you giving a branded experience that will be different to all your competitors and that is enhancing your brand equity? If the answer is maybe, be concerned.
Anyway, so but you believe that with technology coming in, the store will become a fulfillment center, because you're right that experiences are linked to individual mood swings on a particular day or particular moment of time. So technology is being used to actually stabilize or trying to normalize or let's say put into a pattern.
I think technology is going, I would put it this way. I don't think that we should think about digital versus physical anymore. We should think completely integrated. And we should think about what is the best way to provide a superior customer experience and a branded customer experience. So, and there is certain roles that the store has, and the store is the ultimate opportunity to have an in-person interaction and to have basically the brand equity strengthened by this. And also to have, for example, let's say the fitting or certain things done. And some customers will want to have the entire experience in the store. Some customers may only come for the fitting and so on. So this is also, therefore you have to define as your brand, what do you want to offer? This is a brand strategy decision. This is not something that we say, this is general. But I would say the store as just a fulfillment center, if brands think like this, then it's kind of useless, because in principle, then I don't even need the store. Then I can just have my my glasses or whatever sent to my house. I only will go to a store in the future if there is a reason for me to go there. And the reason has to be that I could get value from the store visit. And as long as I don't get value from the store visit, or retailers are not giving value in the store visit, they will simply face less and less customers willing to get in. Very simple. And you see actually some retailers that are able to create this hype. I have, for example, an example here in the beauty space in the US. It's a brand called Glossier. There you have lines, people waiting an hour to get into the store. They wait an hour in line because the store is happening. The store is an experience center. The store is a place where you go to get a branded experience. I've never seen another retailer in a kind of, I don't know, $40, $50 category where people wait 1 hour in line. At Glossier they do, because they will get an experience that will be an experience like nothing else. So I would say, rethink your experience creation model, rethink if you're really creating value through the store, or if basically your store is just there because it always has been there. If this is the case, again, you should be concerned and maybe rethink the business model.
Right. I think that's a very important input for brands, brands who are trying to run their brand stores or even multi-branded stores. I think Sunglass Hut should probably take care of this and try to improve the. Yes, Amit, you want to say something there?
Just because you named Sunglass Hut. No, really, there are three things I quickly want to point out. One is that I think Daniel also said that the journey is from a transactional standpoint to an experiential standpoint.
Right.
Any store will have to become, in near future, not too far, part of an omni-channel setup. A store standing alone will possibly find itself standing alone and not standing for long at all.
Right.
And then there is a nuance in terms of creation of experience. The nuance that I want to cite is that there is a brand store. For example, there may be a Ray-Ban store or an Oakley store where the brand itself is responsible for creating the experience. It goes much easier, and anybody who has visited an Oakley store or the Ray-Ban store at Soho would give testimony that there is significantly less space dedicated to product and far more space dedicated to creating experience. There may be graffiti artists sitting in a Ray-Ban store. But this discussion changes substantially when we are talking about a trade partner where the retail brand is theirs. They will have to find their own brand of experience, because they're talking about 30, 40, 50 brands that they have inventorized. So which brand's experience they can further. They will have to define one for themselves. So what is Dayal Optical's brand of experience creation, for example?
Right.
And that we have less control over, but thankfully there are leading opticians who work with us very closely in understanding how we can be of assistance and what they can do differently.
Right.
This is an incredibly important point, and I think this is here you can learn from a lot from department stores, because it's exactly this reason why so many department stores all over the world go bankrupt, because they were the places before digital came in where people could choose between brand A, brand B, brand C. They were the places where you could get an inspiration. So, but now you get the inspiration on the digital platform. So, Amit, what you just said is so important right now. And I predict that if a multi-brand retailer is not able to do what you just said, to create their own brand equity and give their own reason how they inspire and why they inspire, they will not be there in 2 years, maybe not in 1 year. The transition is going so unbelievably fast. Retailers have no time anymore. In principle, the real challenge is this multi-brand environment, because the multi-brand retailers were relying too much on variety as the inspiration, but variety is not anymore the inspiration. You can get much better inspired online by this. So the question is, what do they add to the party? Why should someone even come there and, in a sense, spend their time wisely or waste their time? And if a customer now think it's a waste of their time, then this will be the last visit they ever do.
Good. I think there are some very important inputs there. So let me ask another question, another direction, that in the recent past, reusable luxury has become a very important trend, and now even Selfridges is bringing in a rack of reusable clothes. So do you think that kind of a trend will ever come into the eyewear segment as well? The expensive eyewear, branded eyewear, do you think customers will want to purchase a second-hand product? Do you think that will sell in sites which are selling reused luxury?
Is this question for me?
For everyone, anyone. Yes, Navneet, your opinion.
Yeah, I don't think so. Reusable eyewear or a second-hand eyewear will sell here, because it can carry an infection, and you can sanitize it, but I don't see anybody wearing a second-hand.
Right.
So my perspective on this, Abhay, really is this. Some markets lead, others follow. I mean, we are yet in the early stages of development of luxury space.
Right.
But let me cite you two examples of two business models which are, Daniel can testify, but from what I see, they are doing exceedingly well. Is the model of Rent the Runway and the Real. Okay. They have been valued in billions. They have been clocking revenues of hundreds of millions.
Sure.
And Rent the Runway, I believe, is they are successfully renting out eyewear too. So what says a few years down the line this might not happen in India? It very much could, and possibly is a business model ripe for some entrepreneur to take up. And on the platforms like the Real, big brands are queuing up to partner with them. And one of the brands that we are marketing eyewear for, Burberry or Stella McCartney, I mean, they are all on the Real. They are giving incentives to people who will consign their used Burberry on the Real. So, it works like a charm for everybody. It works for the brand because, they are able to send out a more sustainable message to the consumer. They are able to showcase that their products have longevity to stand a few owners. And very cold commercially speaking, they are able to set the table of the counterfeiters also. They set the price table high.
Right.
So people will not fall for counterfeits. They can buy the real stuff for much cheaper and sell it back.
I think plus they also get the ball rolling in terms of, the connoisseur buying the new model and palming off the older model to somebody else at a lower price. So it's just building the recycling of sales as well. So commercially,
and some of these companies, Abhay, they have millions of square feet worth of warehousing spaces where they are able to authenticate, where they're able to, I'm sure, even disinfect. But whether that day is tomorrow in India or 2 years down the line, time will tell.
Right.
But I would imagine it should be possible.
No, I think most leading retailers, for example, Ethos Watch has already started a reusable watch section. So perhaps one of the leading retailers could take that initiative, experiment and see whether that really works. But Amit, you took an interesting name of Stella McCartney. That brings me to the next question. In terms of sustainable luxury, biodegradable lenses, and Stella McCartney now tying up with Helios to create a sustainable eyewear brand. So do you think that kind of a thing has got a market in India?
Look, I mean, I love drawing bigger perspectives than a very pointed one. People subscribe to a brand's ethos. They do not subscribe to a product. They don't look at the brand necessarily from the point of view of one single product.
Right.
So while Stella McCartney might say that 50% of the product is recyclable or something, there are plenty of other examples. The point I'm making or wanting to make is that the organization as a whole are taking a very, very strong view on sustainability, because that is the cost of a consumer's loyalty these days. If you want them to stay with you, you will have to have sustainable behavior. And that really is in several aspects of doing business, Abhay. It's in the processes, in the safety, health and environment processes of a company, the impact it leaves on the communities where it operates, leading up to the products it makes. Remember, my point of view on this, Abhay, really is that the consumer will look at the product for its functionality.
Right.
And will weigh whether it comes from a brand which is on an overall scale environmentally, sustainably operating or not.
Right.
Brands have taken some fundamental innovative ways of communicating this. And the best thing I've ever heard of is Prada taking out a loan with some financial institution, the interest rate of which is in the, varying depending on whether Prada meets some environmental goals or not.
Right.
So these are messages that the consumers pick up, and they will know that they are buying a product which in itself may not be 100% recyclable, but comes from a company which leaves a net positive environment impact and not a negative.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Great. So we almost come to the end of the debate because, this is a never ending debate and all of us are being very interested in the area. We can keep going on. But there's one last question that personal shoppers and micro-influencers, what do you think is the role of those today? I mean, post-pandemic, do you think, so Navneet already made a statement, which is I do agree with that, because that is what is happening all over the world, that micro-influencers are driving sales and people look up to them for suggestions or trends or whatever. But in India, do you think the eyewear segment is really adopting that? And is he using personal shopping, any retailer using personal shoppers as a tool to further sales? Anyone? I mean, the question is open to anyone.
Well, I think Navneet is in the best position to answer this question. I think.
So he already said he uses influencers. He uses his wife, so she's the best influencer.
But the fact is, he started doing this some 10 years in advance.
Yeah.
And after learning that, since we know each other for a long time, I told many retailers, boss, make your wife join some 20 kitties and let her wear a different sunglass everywhere. That's how possibly you can try and sell, that's how you can sell luxury more coming.
Right.
So I think he did it, and I'm sure he has from being physically there, I think he has now ensured the digital presence as well.
Right.
Look at another example of nice merging of a specialty restaurant with the luxury sunglass.
Yes.
It's a nice way of remaining into that particular social
broad basing.
Yeah. Coming back to micro influencers, I personally feel they impact a lot. Because the other day I was reading one article that omni-channel it's over now. Now it's individual is in a channel. And you need to connect with the passion of an individual, not an
community sales is coming.
So
social
unless
commerce.
you connect with that passion, and who connects, I'm an influencer of Garmin for last almost 10 years. Every year I wear a Garmin watch, and I've been told that, okay, because of this influencing, so many Garmin watches have been, so many consumers have been connected.
Right.
So I fully agree that the micro influencer, because micro influencer do what? They don't just support your product. They stand by the personality of the product. They stand by the ethos of the product, correct? And that is something one would influence rather than some discount or some new model. And of course, these are my views.
Right. Great. So I think we should open the house to questions. Madhur, you want to start with the questions?
Yeah, definitely. I'll first take Vincent.
Okay, Vincent Clement. Yes. Hi, Vincent. Do you want to unmute him? Can we see him? Vincent, are you there? Has he left? You want to read his question? You have to unmute yourself, Madhur.
Okay. He was, requesting the brand name that was Glossier, I guess, and from Daniel.
What is the question, Daniel? There's a question to you, Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel, you had mentioned a brand, and Vincent wanted to know the brand name. Regarding
the brand is called Glossier that I mentioned. And their business model is particularly interesting because it's so disruptive. So they started as a digitally native brand and also as an influencer-driven brand. So the CEO of this brand, she is one of the leading beauty influencers and had a blog called Into the Gloss. And then she basically moved that gloss into a brand called Glossier. So she had already hundreds of thousands of followers and then kind of capitalized on this, launching a beauty brand that was based on the insights of this. And this was fully digital. And then when she opened retail locations, and there's just very few, there's one in New York, there's one in Los Angeles, and then I believe they have one now in London. And so they are in very selected spaces, and these retail locations are all about experience. And it's unbelievable how many people are there in front of the stores, how crowded it is when people are in the stores, and how much excitement they're creating. And these entire stores are designed as experience centers, really, in a way that you have selfie stations, that everything has Instagrammable moments, that everything has memorable moments. And it's basically really like, I think, a very good case study to see how a brand can create really a retail experience that people are craving for to go in.
Right.
So Suman,
yeah, hi.
Are you? Yeah, hi.
This is audible?
Yeah, Suman. You can ask your first question.
Yeah, my question is how voice recognition virtual sales process is effective, and how is its efficiency in conversion? I mean to ask from Dr. Langer is what is the future of image recognition and voice recognition in virtual sale medium versus physical medium?
Okay, so can you ask your second question also, so that that could also be answered?
The second question is what is the future of decentralized AI in supply chain and retail in India? To Arindam, this is.
Arindam, can you answer that question? Yeah. Arindam, unmute yourself.
Sorry, I'm having a bit of network issue.
Yeah.
Yes, you're talking about decentralizing supply chain or?
Decentralized AI in supply chain and retail in India.
See, right, I don't know if what is the future of it. I think it's already happening right now.
Yes.
You know, so future is not that there's going to be changes. It'll be more of, you know, common news when it comes to decentralized AI in supply chain. And in AI, for example, in supply chain, it is not really in the sense of centralized, because we're already, when you have AI in supply chain, you're already working on an omni-channel model. And a lot of the AI is actually used for regional or, you know, forward location wise, future planning, route optimization, and all of this. So we have already decentralized it in that sense.
No, if that is so, I want to add to you also and to Dr. Langer also, like can we use this like cyber security, you know, as a model to AI, where brand can reach to a ECP and like want to partner for sales growth?
That I'll let Dr. Langer answer.
I'm not 100% sure about the question. Can you just kind of maybe reframe it?
The thing is like my question, first primary question was what was decentralized AI, the future of it, okay? And like there are three aspects. One is emotional intelligence. Second is your, what I wanted to ask is about your, the point which he was making, that it is already there in India, the decentralized AI. So my next question is, there is, are you seeing a space of cyber security where the data of the customer is very important, and all the brands like who are there now, Zeiss, Safilo or Luxottica is here. Suppose, are you seeing that this thing is happening in the future, that the customer data will be very pivotal and paramount, and the programs and the campaigns will be designed in respect of customer data using the decentralized AI?
Yeah, let me answer kind of in two steps. Maybe first to your second question, and then coming to the first question. So I would say to me right now, when we work with clients, and especially, for example, when we help brands to establish themselves in the market as new brands, because they can start from a kind of clean sheet of paper, a white sheet of paper, so to speak, and have no restrictions. What we always recommend is to think about themselves as data companies and not as product companies. So the product is obviously an important part, but they should think first of data, because if they are excellent in data, this means they have as much information as possible about their customers, obviously everything within legal boundaries. But this then helps if this data is used in the right way to make all the interactions dramatically more efficient and more relevant. And everything is about relevancy. No one likes that time is wasted. So if you get, I don't know, let's say an email campaign, and this email campaign is not customized and dynamic towards your needs, then it's basically a useless campaign. It's just basically spamming your inbox. Maybe to use this as an easy example. And now coming to AI, or to artificial intelligence, this is something that is obviously a term that is a lot overused. It's a very fashionable term. I hear a lot of people using it all the time, but most people don't really know what it is and have not had experience in it. So we work in a lot of projects utilizing AI. And where AI makes sense is now in particular this management of data, and is to make sense of big data. And I give you an example. If you think about social media, and someone said, I think, Abhay, you were saying about social listening earlier. So, and I don't like the term social listening because it's kind of a bit too basic. I usually use the term social intelligence, Because what I need to understand as a brand is, how am I doing versus all my competitors? How is my sentiment shifting? So for example, are my customers today happy about my brand or unhappy about my brand? Is there something basically that they dislike or something that they like? Is the content that we send out, for example, in digital marketing, is it relevant? Is it resonating? Are people actually talking about that? These are things that I need to understand. And I need to understand this better than my competitors, so to speak. And I need to be more cut through than the competitors. And I can only do this utilizing very advanced digital querying tools. Not all need artificial intelligence, but artificial intelligence can help to come through data and to make sense of data. Because if you have to process, let's say, 10,000 data points, 100,000 data points, millions of data points, millions of mentions, for example, in blogs, in social media, and so on. You cannot do this by hand anymore. It's just not feasible. You cannot make sense about the sentiment of one brand versus another brand just by looking at the likes or at the comments. So you need to see the big picture. And this is where artificial intelligence comes in and helps to basically make sense of data, structure data, and basically recommend certain actions. Another thing that is very interesting is also to kind of to see what is really going on your website, even if you just look at the website. Most companies are only able to say, to identify the IP address, and they're able to see how long someone was on the website and which content they clicked on, for example. This is not sufficient anymore because there's so much more sophisticated technologies. I would urge every company to really think, how can you integrate now technologies, for example, that allow you to measure every millisecond of a customer spending on your website, and ideally tracing back where the customer is coming from and what they have been doing before and what they are doing afterwards. Again, obviously always within the legal boundaries of the region in which you are in. But these are things that are unbelievably powerful, because it's not just basically to have, let's say, privacy intrusion or to be creepy. It's much more valuable in a sense of just developing relevant content. And so I think that these are very important tools. I would even call them game changers. So when we use artificial intelligence, for example, to analyze a brand, to analyze the sentiment on a brand. And I have, for example, a meeting with the CEO of a company. Often I know more about their brands than they know, just by maybe a 1 hour analysis externally, just looking on publicly available data and just looking what has happened maybe over the last couple of days or weeks or months in data analysis. And we see that the majority of companies have huge deficiencies right now in utilizing these tools. They don't really know how to use it, what it is, how to make sense of it. But I would say that the ability to process data in the best possible way, to make sense of data and translate data into relevant content is the game changer of the future.
So if I'm not wrong, like it is not about how we use Google Maps, right? Google Maps draw a lot of AI information.
Suman, I request you to send me a mail, and you're from the Eyewear store, right?
I'm over with it actually.
Suman, I just have to wind up actually. So that's the reason why I'm saying I'll answer your queries through email.
No issue.
Right? Okay. Yeah. Thank you. And